All right, guys. So USA 0, Brazil 4 on Tack's birthday. A good, solid thrashing from a team that was clearly superior to us in a lot of departments. Not the most encouraging start to the Revelations Cup, but maybe not altogether that surprising, right, Tack?
Yeah, the result. Okay, the result itself wasn't a big surprise. The 4-0 loss. I think we all expected a 3 to 4-0 loss. What we were hoping for is for a United States team that would put up a fight, and then we'll see. Okay, they exceeded our expectations, but it was also only 4-0 because it kind of seemed like Brazil slowed it down towards the end a little bit. Brazil kind of like so it could have been more. Brazil didn't care. Mateus Nascimento showed a little bit of his spark at the end, right?
Yeah,
Slicing and dicing the defense.
yeah,
There's a lot to talk about, but
yeah.
overall, the result is not a big surprise. One, because we expect Brazil to beat the United States, and two, because of all the incompetence from the U.S. Soccer Federation, everything they done leading up to this.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a good place to start when we talk about this game is that we hired a coach on Friday, a coach who doesn't really move the needle for me in terms of what we would expect from an under 20 coach. I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but let's be honest, an FC Dallas Academy coach, we probably could have done better, okay? Compared to some of the under 20 coaches we've had in the past. And then these guys don't get together until Monday, which means they've had maybe one training session together, right? And that showed very much on the field. There was a lack of cohesion, a lack of understanding of roles. There's a lot of different reasons why it was not a good game, but I think it starts there, right? It starts with there's no familiarity, there's no plan. Um, what are your initial thoughts after watching that?
Well, we saw something that obviously we already knew, but sometimes for some fans, it could be like a wake up call, right? The gap of the development of each countries, right? The
Yeah,
gap is you see the way Brazil plays, and it's not even from a team standpoint on the ball. The players on the ball are all very technical, and we even saw a gap in a position I did not expect, which we can talk about more later. The goalkeeping position. The Brazilian goalkeeper was far superior with his feet
yeah,
and shot stopping, which it surprised me to be honest
yeah.
when I compare.
I mean, God bless Gab Slonina. He's still young and
Hmm.
probably still has a lot of potential. But I mean, if you're playing professionally, there's some pretty basic stuff in there that I felt he could have done better with, right? But look, I don't want to come here all doom and gloom, and mostly I don't want to blame players. Players are who they are, and the other thing that I thought that didn't set us up very well was that we had guys playing out of position. Most notably, I want to say Caden Clark. I thought Caden Clark was one of our brighter spots before he was pulled, but he's playing like a striker with his back to goal, which really isn't his game. And the only few moments where we saw him drop very deep to get the ball in midfield and start to create were the moments where we actually looked like we could do something on the ball. So that was disappointing that not only did he start up top, but we didn't move him at all. We pulled him off at, I think 60th, 64th, 65th minute. And the same with what's his name, Justin Shea. We moved him to center back in the second half. I think we went more of a back three in the second half,
Hmm.
back five rather. Um, but I thought he should have started there. To be fair, I don't think Justin Shea had a good game at all. Getting way too tight, especially in that first half, to players going lunging in for balls that he was missing and getting turned way too easily. But ultimately, I think Justin Shea should be playing at center back and not at right back. And what's interesting is Caden Pierre, the other right back, came on, actually showed like he could play there. You know?
Yeah. Hopefully we see Justin Chase start the next game as a center back. Not no excuses also for some individual mistakes he
No,
made throughout the match.
no,
There's no excuses for it. But yeah, playing out of position is never a good thing, right? And it seems
right.
like US soccer has this bad habit of playing sometimes their creative players also like Caden Clark, Giovanni Reina. They're like, all right, I got this creative guy. Let me try to
Yeah,
dislocate him out of his comfort zone. It's like, why? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that?
yeah. No, it's ridiculous.
Did you see when the United States, I think the second half of the first half, we played on like a kind of like a 4-4-2, and then Paxton and Clark were up top? Did you see that? It was also a little odd because you're playing on a 4-4-2 with two strikers, and both the strikers are not strikers. And that
Yeah,
happened.
yeah,
It's,
yeah. Yeah, look, there's so many things I want to, but really I want to just say, look, it's one game. Brazil's probably the best team in this tournament. They're probably going to win. So we don't need to overreact, but that was really disheartening to see. And especially from a technical, like you said, from a technical point of view, it was a good wake-up call, big gaps, big gaps. Every single guy on the Brazilian team, very comfortable with the ball, very easy getting out of tight spaces, very comfortable receiving in traffic. Only a few of that was the difference. A few of our guys are like that. A lot of them are not, particularly our defenders, right? And Cade Cowell.
The Brazil national team, if people haven't noticed yet, if you're not comfortable on the ball, you don't make the team. Yeah. Simple as that. Doesn't matter how athletic you are. If you don't make the team if you can't play on the ball. Like, and trying to shift a little bit toward like the senior, like a guy like Paul Riola that does everything except for play on the ball, never would be. It's not even considered for a club.
You don't even have a prayer. No. Yeah, guys, that was disheartening. But let's talk about some positives, right? Because there were some encouraging performances that I thought we could build on from certain players. And we could just go back and forth. I've already mentioned Caden Clark, as I thought was an encouraging, even though he was played out of position, I thought he was okay. Not so much with his hold up. He was trying to do a lot of flick-ons when the ball came to him, but he's playing between two center backs with his back to goal. It's just not his game. At the very least, if you're going to play the same lineup, at least play Cade Cowell up top, who can at least hold up the ball and use his size and use his athleticism to hold up the ball, and play Caden Clark on the wing, where at least he's facing the goal and can actually run at players and create. It was just a very bizarre mesh of players. Anybody else that you were impressed by?
I wouldn't say impressed, but I kind of liked. Wasn't perfect, obviously, and was subbed off kind of early. I like Paxton Harrison, what he was trying to do, right? He's able to carry the ball, trying to create, had some good moments, and he still looks very much more like a kid than many of the players. Looks like he's still going to grow a little more.
Yeah.
But from a technical standpoint, I liked what I saw from Paxton Harrison today.
Yes, a guy who has the technique, is comfortable on the ball, and doesn't look afraid to receive it in tight spaces. He had a really good moment in that first half where he received it on the half turn, spun, immediately was under pressure, beat his man, beat another man just at the top of the box, and then laid it off for Dante Sealy. So I thought, okay, more of that. And he did have a few other moments. He also gave it away unnecessarily sometimes, but that's okay. What I want to see is that comfort on the ball from a young age, because that projects well going up, right? Trying to think about other, Caleb Wiley was not terrible. Of the back four, I thought Caleb Wiley, part of it, I think, is that he has a little more athleticism than some of the back line, but he looked pretty technical on the ball too. I wasn't impressed by him, but he stood out in a back line that stood out in a bad way today,
And he's only 16.
Yeah. He's only 16 years old. Reminds me a little bit of George Bello, though.
Yeah.
But more technical than George Bello already. So those three were okay, I thought. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. Brian Gutierrez, when he came on, I thought the number 17.
Yeah.
He was a guy who I thought looked quite comfortable on the ball.
Is it Gutierrez or Gutierrez? I don't know.
Gutierrez, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he can't finish, though. He can't hit a shot.
I mean, I don't think that. Wait, hang on. He had one chance to hit a shot, and he had two guys in front of him.
No, he had 3 shots. He couldn't hit the
shot from outside the box.
He did hit one. He did
dribbled past half the Brazilian team and tested the goalkeeper.
He had some good moments off dribbling into traffic. He was able to go past some opponents. Had a pretty bad pass right after he nutmegged the Brazilian. See, off the bench, he was a spark. Now, some people are saying Diego Luna played well. I need to rewatch this game, and I will rewatch it. I didn't see much from Diego Luna.
No, I didn't either. I didn't see much from Luna. I thought Gutierrez was one of the more impressive ones. What did you think about Sanogo when he came on?
So we got a very small sample of it.
Yeah, and he didn't get a lot of service.
Very one-footed.
Yeah.
When he had the ball, he would always go to his left. Almost scored on a nice finish there. The goalkeeper saved. And then there was this cross he tried to do off his right foot, which came out weak, and the defender blocked it. It looks like we need to see more from him. I don't want to say anything.
It's very small sample size. And the problem, too, is that both Caden Clark and Paxton Harrison were pulled in the second half. And they were the only two guys who looked like they could create something out of, from midfield. except that Clark wasn't even playing in midfield. So, Gutierrez, yeah, I have to say that. Maybe, and let's talk about some of the kids that really did not impress today, and we don't want to be too hard on them, but we have to call out poor performances, and I'll just start with Danny Leyva, man. I mean, Danny Leyva, I know he's still 18 years old, but 2 years ago we saw him in the Under-17 World Cup where he was extremely poor. He's poor on both sides of the ball. I know that David Kerr says that he's talented with his feet. I just haven't seen it. I just haven't. He doesn't look that comfortable in traffic. He doesn't look like he can play out of pressure easily. When you give him time and space, he had a few nice diagonals into the pockets. But when he struggled with the time and space, his passing, his technique on the ball, I thought was poor. And moreover, his defensive work in defensive transition as the number 6 was terrible. I mean, he didn't track guys out, who were making runs into the box. He didn't. He was beat several times on the dribble. I was just really unimpressed with Danny Leyva today.
Well, everything you said about him, I agree there. I also thought that sometimes when you're a player, he's clearly slower than the average player, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes when you have that, you need to be very smart tactically positioning, covering ground, and I didn't see that, right? So the lack of speed was exposed several times on the ball, didn't offer anything. Reminded me a lot of Jackson Yu at times as our 6, a lot.
Yeah. But even when he receives the ball, he doesn't look comfortable. Even when he had time and space, he just doesn't look comfortable on the ball. Diego says, give Leyva a chance, y'all. He's only 18. All of these kids are only 18 years old. But we're not judging them on a senior team level. We're judging them on an under-18 game. So we're not saying, listen, let's be very clear. We're not saying any of these kids should be given up on or have no talent. Okay, we are absolutely not saying that. But we have to call out poor performances when we see them. And Daniel Leyva was very poor today. Your turn.
Am I allowed to say more than one play? Can I put a package?
Well, one at a time. We'll go back and forth.
It's because it was kind of like the same. So I'll just go with Casey Walls. I was going to say both center backs in my opinion. But
I see what you're saying. Okay.
But Casey Wall, because the criticism among the center backs is similar. Not very good on the ball. Both of them not ball-playing defenders. Completely caught off position. I think it was the 3rd or 4th goal. I think it was the 4th goal that Casey Walls was high up the field for no reason. More specifically, he was definitely better than Jalen. He was definitely worse than Jalen Neal, but it's the same criticism for both center backs and something very common among U.S. soccer development center backs.
Yeah. Next up is Cade Cowell, man. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen his lack of technique more evident than when he played a very technical team. He's a freak athlete, big, strong, can be fast when he's running in a straight line, but he just can't do anything with the ball, man. Almost every time he got the ball, he gave it away. And usually a technically poor mistake. That it was a technique, not tactical, the reason that he gave it away. And I just was really unimpressed with him today. I thought he should have been off the field sooner.
Yeah, and Cade Cowell, I remember a long time back, people complained. I think we said something, and we heard some complaints, and we said, yeah, Cade is an exciting prospect. He's very young and getting it done in MLS in certain games, right? He had ups and downs.
Yeah.
But we've been talking about his technical ability on dribbling, on tight spaces, and we haven't seen that from him yet at San Jose. And we have, I think we have enough of a sample right now in Cade Cowell to see what type of player he is right now. Now, what people need to keep in mind is, can he improve that? Yes, and he probably will. All these players will improve.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
Technical ability at this age doesn't change that much. It's not going to be a crazy jump. No. He's 18. It will
look at Jordan Morris, for example. Jordan Morris at 18 reminded me a little bit of Cade Cowell, right? Big, strong athlete, probably a little more explosive than Cade Cowell, to be honest, but similar, very poor technically. Now, Morris did improve in MLS, but he still has a technical ceiling because of it, right? And that's might be Cade Cowell's ceiling as well, even if he does improve.
Which is what the problem for Cade here is this. Cade Cowell is a player right now. If we go back 10 years ago in U.S. soccer, this is a player that you look into and it's like, okay, keep developing because you're going to be a starter like Jordan Morris, right?
Yeah.
But nowadays, the way it is, it's changing, right? The players coming up, he's going to have to compete with Conrad de la Fuente. He's going to have to compete with Pulisic, players that are coming up right now, Giovanni Reina, I guess, is a winger for Greg. So Cade Cowell's on a disadvantage in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, your turn.
So you talked about Cade Cowell. So this player, I don't want to say he was bad. It's just one thing that I liked some things from him. I didn't like. It was Dante Sealy in a couple of things. So it seemed like, and again, I don't want to criticize because it could have been the team. You mentioned it. Your point was pretty good that maybe
For
not
sure.
knowing the team, you take too many touches. But at times it seems like Dante Sealy was just trying, I'm going to dribble these guys several times, takes too many touches. And you see the ability. He's a very technical player.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was just bothering me. And that the good thing is that's something the guy can improve quickly, right? Over experience.
Yeah. I feel like decision making I'm less bothered by, because decision making is something you can fix quickly, right? What bothers me more, if I see a player who lacks technique, it's very hard to see them improving very rapidly. But a technical player whose decision making is poor, I'm willing to live with that at this age, because decision making can be improved with experience and time.
It should.
Significantly.
It should.
It can be, right? Whether or not, we're not saying it will be, but it can be, depending on the coaching, depending on the player themselves, depending on a lot of factors, obviously. Gaga Slonina, he had a few good saves, but I thought had a few moments, not just with his shot stopping, also with his passing, where you can see the kid's not that great with his feet, and that's something he's going to have to improve. Now, he's 17, right? He's not like Matt Turner, who started playing soccer at 15, all right? So that's a good thing. I don't know if Chicago Fire is the place to improve for that, because they don't play out of the back, but he needs to improve technically with that. The other thing was the first goal. I don't think he got down quick enough. And the replays were not great. I'll watch it again, but I would have liked him to get down a lot faster. Anytime the ball goes under a goalkeeper, that has to at least be a question. And then there was that shot that he tipped onto the post that, just for me, was very poor body mechanics. Instead of kicking off with his legs to spring dive, he literally just swung his legs to the right and then stuck his arms out, and it just forced his fingers back. It wasn't even really a save,
Yeah, the good thing about this is he's 17, and for goalkeeper, that's even younger than young, right?
Yes.
Goalkeepers don't really start for teams till they're 25. So he's okay. There's that going for him. But what really disappointed me in regards to Gabriel Slonina was the fact that the Brazilian goalkeeper just seemed so much more ready, prepared as a player, right? On the ball with his feet, better on distribution, better with the first touch, saves, made some fantastic saves.
Yeah.
That's what this was, because then I'm comparing. So yeah, comparing Slonina to a 25-year-old, man, he's got huge potential, massive potential. But then I saw the Brazilian goalkeeper, which his name, by the way, I wrote it down. It's Mikael. Mikael was just seemed way above in every single aspect of the game, commanding the box, everything. And that's what disappointed me about Gaga Slonina. It was more about the comparison with the opponent's goalkeeper.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just things we're going to have to keep improving on in U.S. soccer. It feels to me like most of our technical players either come out of Dallas or Philly, and all the other MLS academies, while some of them are starting to produce talent, I still don't see the same level of technique, Your turn. If there's anyone else you want to talk about.
I'm still very high on his potential, but Justin Che was somewhat of a disappointment today. Today specifically. Like you said, it seemed like it was more in the beginning of the game, right? I think it has to do a little bit with what you and David Kerr were saying, that sometimes he switches off of the game, and it seems like he started off, and then later on, I didn't really notice any other issues with his game. And then he shifted to the back three, and he was playing more as a central right center back.
Yeah.
But essentially, I think, especially in the beginning, like Justin Che, you were a player you were considered to go to Bayern. And then you let the Brazilian winger, the left winger, just kind of chip the ball over you, as if he's Ronaldinho. That can't happen.
Yeah, well, it's because he was getting too tight, right? So Justin Che was getting very tight to his winger, which with very tricky, speedy players, you can't do that. You've got to hold off a little bit, otherwise they'll turn you. And he got turned so many times. He also got 2v1'd a couple of times with their fullback, and Cade Cowell wasn't tracking back like he should have been. So that was part of it too, but certainly no excuses on Che for that first 30 minutes at least. He was pretty poor. A couple of other players. I liked what Jack McGlynn brought. I just think I'd rather have a Caden Clark, Paxton Harrison dual 8 situation than Jack McGlynn. Now, my thought, I was like, maybe we could play Jack McGlynn at the 6. The problem was in the second half, we saw defensively he was not very good. He's better on the ball, but I'm not sure he can play as a 6 if he's that poor defensively, gets beat way too easily.
Slow, too. Kind of
slow. Daniel Edelman, even David Kerr said that Daniel Edelman has probably exceeded Danny Leyva at this point. So maybe it'd be a good opportunity to give Daniel Edelman a start against Colombia and just see if he can play that 6, because that's a huge part of this, right? If your spine, if Jalen Neal and Danny Leyva and Casey Walls are that weak, that's like the spine of your team. And if you can't pass and you can't defend, you're going to hurt everybody in front of you, you know? And so I think we probably should move Justin Shea to center back against Colombia, put Daniel Edelman at the 6, put Caden Clark back in midfield with Paxton Harrison, and maybe go something like Brian Gutierrez and Dante Sealy on the wings with Sanogo.
And put Sanogo.
Yeah.
Would you, different. We were talking about Slonina. Would you give at least one game to Borto, maybe the next game?
Maybe give Borto the next game and then see how he does. You know, I mean, you want competition. And Borto, by the way, is the 3rd keeper at Fulham now with their senior team at 17 years old. So that's very impressive too. You know, I don't know what he's like in training, so it's hard exactly for me to say, but I wouldn't hate giving him a chance. And again, I'm not saying we should give up on any of these guys, right? No. But there's just areas that we have to be better at. And a lot of it, to be honest, has to come down to the way we develop players. Not when they're 17, 18, or even 14, 15, but when they're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's really when technique is the crucial development years. 6 to 12, guys. That's where we need to be better at teaching them technique, having them play a lot more futsal, for example. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's not really that much else to say about this, except that we were just a mile and a half behind them in terms of talent, and we weren't helped by the fact that we had no time to train together. We just hired a coach on Friday, and a lot of that is on USSF. Like, it's just been so poorly managed from the start, or I should say mismanaged, and that's very, very evident in the play.
Yeah, we probably would have got a loss regardless, in the sense of we saw the gap in talent, but the lack of preparation due to the U.S. Soccer Federation. I don't blame any of the players for lack of preparation. I don't even blame Mickey Varas for any what can he do, right? He just got there. If anything, they might have even just dude, save our asses here because we need someone, dude.
Yeah.
If you don't look, they probably went to Mickey Vadas and just said, Mickey, you need to take over this team, or I'm going to have to invite those 2 guys on YouTube to coach the U-20 because there's no one else that wants to take it. So I'm just going to have to get tactical in 11 Yanks because there's no one else there at this point. So
yeah. I mean, look, the other side of this coin, just to play devil's advocate, is that Brazil are probably the best team in this tournament. And we might not look as bad against Colombia or Mexico. So that's something to consider. The other thing to consider is that it's good for these guys to play a team that's significantly better than them, right? If you're always playing teams at your level or below you, you're not pushed. You don't grow, right? Now they get to go home and watch the tape and see what they did wrong and see how do you contain a team like Brazil in the future. And it's good for their development to get thrashed like this once in a while.
So one thing I said the other day, I think I was talking to my BFF, Alexi, and what I was saying was essentially is one thing U.S. soccer still doesn't have, we used to have, right? Our identity was grind it out. We need to grind it and win. But we're shifting that, right? And Greg even said one of this organized. So what is the identity of U.S. soccer? Because we have to go with that, right? If you're going to go with the identity of this organizing the opponent with the ball, you need players like Brazil has. You need center backs that can play with the ball on their feet. You need goalkeepers that can play. You need technical fullbacks. If you don't have that, your style of play has to be something else. Maybe a counter, maybe a bunkering team, whatever it is.
Maybe a pressing team.
I do think we could and we can, with the players we have, be that team that disorganizes the opponent. But you need to know what you have. And we don't have that with this team, right? With the center backs. And it depends on who you're going to play, right? If Greg's going to play like Walker Zimmerman,
right?
Sorry, it's not going to work that way, right? I don't know what the identity of U.S. soccer is nowadays. It's not really a grind team anymore. It's
No,
something else. And I don't think we have one. And we do need to find one. And that identity has to trickle down, right? The senior team has it, goes down to the U-20, U-17, U-15, U-12, and it goes down through the American culture of soccer, which we don't have yet.
but Filippo, to have a identity, you need to have a certain level of competence in your federation where the good of the game is prioritized above profits, where the long-term vision of the game is, if there's a clear plan and a clear structure. You need competent people who are hired because of their skill and ability instead of, because of their brother. You need a lot of things in order to build that. And we don't have that at USSF right now. We just don't. Thankfully, there are some MLS academies like Philly and Dallas doing some good work, but we need everybody to be a Philly and a Dallas. You know what I mean? Like, how long has it been since Portland has developed a player, right? God knows how long. Houston doesn't develop anybody, for example. Lots of teams, zero development. Even Orlando, bless their hearts. DK they got from college, so they don't really get credit for him. And in Orlando, okay, 6-7 years, that's fine. But like, there are guys that have been around in MLS for a long time and still aren't developing players. So, and we need USL as well to be developing players, and some of them are, right?
Well, and I think that's where we got to come in and blame USSF, because here's the thing. I do not blame MLS for anything they do. MLS looks for the interest of MLS, and that's what MLS should do. They're a private corporation. That's what they need to do. They need to look. The USSF is the agency that regulates U.S. soccer. So they should be the ones saying, okay, you can't do this. You can't do that. You can't have territorial rights. And USSF doesn't do that, right? They pretty much do whatever MLS says. I want to do this. USSF's like, go for it. All yours. It works. You want a closed system? You got a closed system. You want territorial rights? Make it your own. That's what USSF does. And USSF shouldn't be doing that. And people say, why do you care? Well, that is a result of it. This game is a result of that, believe it or not. And I know this is not a catastrophe. I don't want to sound doom and gloom. It's not a catastrophe, but you saw it in the field. The Brazilian players are here. Our players are here. And these are pretty good American players, to be honest.
Yeah. Right. And guys, look, we have other guys at that age or almost that age, significantly above there. Let's keep that in mind too. Busio, Pepe, Gio Reyna, guys like that, Joe Scally are 18, 19 years old. So very similar levels, okay? In terms of age, very close. So let's also keep that in mind. This is nowhere near our best under 20 team. But we can't if we really want to be a world power, you can't have 3 or 4 of those guys at that age group, right? You need 12 or 13 or 15 or 20. That's how you become a world power.
Well, and Pete, remember, people love to talk about Croatia in 2018, right? They love to use that example because Croatia not technically, they were an underdog. And then they have a world-class player like Modric, and then you have like those super players like Perisic and Mandzukic. But the entire team was good on the ball.
Yeah.
The entire team knew how to play, position, everything.
Yeah. And that's going to be crucial for us going forward, which is why when our senior team gets together, Tack and I get very angry that guys who can't even play on the ball at all continue to get called up and prioritized over players who can do that. It's Leggett over De La Torre. It's Areola over Conrad. It's, even Areola over Hoppy, or Zardes over Hoppy. It's just there's so much of that even with our senior team. We shouldn't be surprised when it trickles down to the under 20, under 17 level, right? Okay. Let's talk real quickly going forward about Colombia, what we would like to see. Oh, by the way, Caden Pierre was another one that when he came on impressed me, the right back. Played more of a wing back because we went to sort of a back 3. But I thought if Caden Pierre can defend and play like this, then that justifies moving Che to center back, maybe putting Neal and Che together for Colombia. Jalen Neal and Justin Che, and keep Caleb Wiley at left back. I'm just telling you what I would do. And then maybe, you tell me what you would do. And then I would give Daniel Edelman a start in midfield with Caden Clark and Paxton Harrison as the dual 8s. My wingers would be Brian Gutierrez and the PSV kid with Dante Seeley with Malick Sanogo up top. How about you?
So I would go I would keep a 4-3-3.
Yeah, same. Same.
What I would probably do is I would put Borto on goal, but not because I have a problem with Slonina. I just want to give him a look, see how he
Yeah.
does. I would put Caden Peary on the right back position. Then I would probably put Justin Che and Jalen Neal as the two center backs, and one of them would have to be playing left center back. I know it's not ideal, but you can usually, guys, center backs usually can play right and center back. It's not ideal if you're righty to play on left, but they can do it. So Jalen Neal and Justin Che. I would put Caleb Wiley on the left back position. My 6, I would probably put Daniel Eldman. I would probably just leave him there at the 6, let him fight out. The dual 8s, I would put Paxton Harrison and Caden Clark. I would actually go with both. Caden can, people don't understand, Caden can defend, can press and defend, and Paxton looked fine as well with that. So I'd put both of them as a dual 8.
Yeah.
We'll get a lot of creativity from that. The left wing, I would probably put Brian Gutierrez on the left wing and Dante Sealy on the right wing, pinching in both of them going inside. And then I would try Malick Sanogo. I'd probably go with that.
Yeah, that's the exact team that I just said.
Yeah. Was it? I thought you went. No, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, same team. And that's, and then the other option, look, if you really don't think Malick Sanogo can play for whatever reason, personally, I have a hard time believing that, considering that the German youth teams rate him so highly. But I would probably bring in, Cade Cowell to play as a center forward. There's no reason to play Caden Clark as a center forward. Like, it just does not suit his skill set at all. And his best moments, it's frustrating for me because Caden has so much talent. It's frustrated to see him being misused in this way. Same with Justin Che, although Justin Che didn't help his case with some of his mistakes today. But yes, guys, look.
P, one thing about Caden, since you mentioned, I also saw some strong leadership skills from him in the game. Like, you saw him commanding the team. Hey,
commanding the press, yeah.
Yeah, I like
it. He looked like the only guy that could his closing down speed is very impressive. That's what I like about Caden too, off the ball. He works very hard. He's not this luxury, attacking midfielder that only wants to play, through passes and shoot, but never wants to defend. He works his butt off on the field. And I think he was let down today by Mikey Varas, to be honest, playing him as a center forward. Hopefully, Varas will figure that out in the second game, that's not who he is, and use him correctly. Same for Justin Che. So, yeah, not doom and gloom, guys. We still have a Colombia game. We still have a Mexico game. And listen, even if we get thrashed by everybody in this tournament, which I don't think we will, we can still take lessons from it, and we can still learn from it. And it can maybe be a little bit of a reality check that as much progress as we have made in our youth development systems, we still have a long ways to go if we want to compete with the best in the world. Mm-hmm. That's the truth. And something that's not a lesson we had to learn was already what it was that our federation continues to be inept in so many ways.
Wait, that's not it didn't. Oh, come on. There's so many people defending them.
What do you mean?
No, like there's people on Twitter that love to defend the federation. They go out of the way. It doesn't matter what the federation does. They'll try to defend the federation. It's crazy.
I mean, there are people who defended Ted Bundy too. It doesn't make him right.
True. That is true.
I just compared the federation to Ted Bundy.
Yeah, that's not fair with the federation.
Yeah, no, we're joking. Well, dude, congratulations on a 4-0 win for Brazil on your birthday. I'm sure that was enjoyable. So, quick question for you. What do you think is the trajectory for Mateus?
So I need to see how he'll do in Botafogo now. He needs to establish himself in the starting 11. They're in the second division and they're getting promoted. But I saw some sparks of talent from him. And again, the thing with Brazil is you look at all these players have so much potential, all the players in this team, and then only a few are going to become players for not the national team, for the clubs. For the national teams, a lot of the times, none of them will ever become, right? So I don't know. I think Brazil's still missing a couple players here. The Kaique guy. Kaique's a guy that if he was here, I would say that's probably a guy to come in for the national team in the future. Gabriel Veron, but Gabriel Veron is 18. I don't know if he would have been of age. I think I like their center forward too, the 9 that Brazil had. What's his name? Leonardo, that was playing there up top.
Yeah.
Scored one, yeah. But this is a game that's hard to judge who played well and who didn't. It's very hard to judge. It's one sample. And these kids are young. I don't want to get overhyped by these players, and I don't want to be down on the American players as well.
No, we want to support. And it's not the kids' fault. That's the thing that we want to emphasize. Is like some of them need work technically, but overall, this performance, you can't really pin the blame on the kids. They were sort of set up to fail in a lot of ways by their federation and even by the coach to a degree. Eldon Hassage says, who do you want as captain? Not impressed by Leyva. Well, so Eldon, if I don't want Leyva starting the next game, then obviously we need a new captain. Personally, I would give it to Caden. I just think he was the guy who showed some leadership today with his coordination of the press and trying to create. And oftentimes when he dropped deep, that's when you started seeing him create. So I would give it to Caden. But I'm sure there are other guys in the team that could do it too, you know.
Also, the captain armband is a little overrated, right? You can be a leader of the group without it. It doesn't really matter. So everyone can know, the captain armband, the reason it exists is technically that's the only player that can talk to the ref, technically, but everyone talks to the ref.
Everyone talks to the ref. Yeah.
So it's the captain armband is more of a symbol more than anything.
Symbolic, yeah. It's a symbolic thing. So it doesn't matter that much, but obviously you want to give it to a guy who shows leadership, who shows maturity. And I think Caden has showed that. Both, he probably has the most professional minutes of anybody in this group. I think he definitely has more than Justin Che, right? Or Paxton. Maybe Cade Cowell has a few more.
Do you count the German third division as professional? Because Che played quite a bit. No,
not if you're playing for an academy. Like if you're playing for a reserve team, then no.
So yeah, probably the one that has the most minutes is Caden. Well, yeah. Danny Leyva played quite a bit, did he? I don't know.
No, he played a few games one season. Caden has at this point 20.
Cade Cowell too. Cade Cowell got a lot of games.
Caden and Cade are the ones with the most professional minutes in this team. Che as well has got some more this season. But look, guys, it's not all doom and gloom. We got to be better with our lineup, and we're going to have to be better, particularly in defensive transition, because we were really poor when we lost the ball. There was no good coordination on the press, and that really hurt us. And again, it's understandable because we've had no time to play together or to train together at all. But we're going to have to be better. I think that's it. We don't have to do a full hour on this. Do you have any other thoughts?
No, I'm just recommending everyone to go watch. Also, Mexico and Colombia are playing right now.
How's it looking?
There's 2 minutes in. Not much to
Mexico, I'm going to watch it too.
Mexico's playing on a 4-2-3-1 with Marcelo Flores playing as a 10. Marcelo Flores is tiny. I'm looking here, and Mexico almost scored right now. Marcelo Flores is tiny. Small player. Yeah. He looks like a Coutinho-like player. Coutinho.
We probably would never let him play in the U.S. We'd be like, no, not athletic enough.
No, and he looks like so far 2 touches on the ball, looks very technical. We need to see more, but probably a good player. And yeah, in the U.S. we're like, nah, man, you're 5'6".
You're 5'6". Can't play soccer.
Right. So the Mexico.
So Friday, the USA Mexico. Do you have any quick thoughts on that before we close the stream?
We can talk about it for honestly, if you want to do 5 more minutes, we can talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, let's do another 5-6 minutes. I've got the game on, but
Yeah. So Mexico, United States. First, we got to remember it's a derby. So good luck to anyone trying to predict the score. Anything crazy can happen. It can be a trashing. It can be a draw. It can be a 1-0 win. We've seen this. It's going to depend a lot on how Greg lines up, right? So L3, when we talk to many different L3 sources and L3 fans and media, it seems like the lineup is set. We know who's starting, right, for Mexico. Yeah. The United States, there's a few question marks that can make or break us. And what is Greg going to want? Is Greg going to go for the draw? Is Greg going to go for trying to win at home? Because I think Greg would be happy with the draw at home, personally.
I think so, too.
So
whatever he says we're going to go for the win. We're going to take it to Mexico. But oftentimes what Greg says and what Greg does don't exactly line up. So we don't really know what Greg is going to do. I think there are some safe bets, though. I think we're going to see a 4-3-3. Some people think we're going to see a back 3, but I don't think so. I think we're going to see a 4-3-3.
Do you want to hear something crazy? In this camp, I think we're going to see a false 9.
I mean, with Jesus.
Probably. I hope not Leggett. He tried that already. But the reason I'm saying this is for some reason, when I saw Caden Clark playing as a false 9 early in the game today, I'm like, someone put that in Miki Ibarra's head. Someone told him that we play a false. Someone told him that. He didn't play. He has Malick Sanogo, and he has also Misael Rodriguez that are center forwards. And then he played Caden as a false 9. And I've heard that Greg wants to integrate Caden on the December camp because he brings something different. Maybe that's what he sees, a false 9. And he's going to try Jesus Ferreira as a false 9 eventually in this camp. And you guys can mark my words. I think it's going to happen eventually. He's not going to start against Mexico. I don't think that's going to happen.
Pepe, but Greg did say that he sees Pepe playing the majority of both games. So it would have to be a substitute appearance, probably, from Jesus.
Yeah, but like I think 30 minutes of a false nine will already be kind of weird.
Yeah. So quickly, can we just give predictions of our lineup, what we think is Greg is going to do, and also what Tata's going to do? Let's start
Okay.
with Mexico. I'll give you what I think Tata's going to do, and you tell me if you're hearing different. Ochoa in goal, obviously. Back four of Jorge Sanchez, Johan Vasquez, Hector Moreno, and Jesus Gallardo.
So what they told me is this: Ochoa on goal, and then the right, they think it's Sanchez, but they wouldn't be surprised if Chaka starts.
Yeah.
The defenders, they said it's going to be Hector Moreno as the left center back and Dominguez as the right center back, and Johan Vasquez on the bench. The left back, they said Jesus Gallardo.
Yeah. Okay.
So just
about
one,
right.
yeah.
Now, the midfield trio, I'm guessing, is going to be Edson Alvarez, Hector Herrera, and either Charlie Rodriguez or Luis Romo.
They're saying it's going to be Alvarez, Hector Herrera, and Guardado. Ancient Guardado. Yeah.
No, he wouldn't do that. That failed against Canada, remember?
Yeah, but they're saying
both Herrera and Guardado are so old. Sam, Nestor Araujo can't play. He's got a red card in the last game. And then the front three is easy, right? Tecatito, Raul, and Chucky.
Yeah, that's going to be the front three. And then off the bench, you have Henry Martin, no Diego Lainez. That's a positive, in my opinion, for the U.S.
Yes, that is positive for the U.S. And then let's talk about the U.S. lineup. Turner or Steffen, what do you think he does?
I think he's going with Turner.
I think so, too. I think he's going to go Turner just for the reliability factor right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's Turner because I do think Greg, even though he won't say it, like we just said, I think he's going for the draw.
Yes. So he's not going to want to dominate the game. He's going to want to sit back and save and block. And then I think the back four is going to look like this. DeAndre Yedlin,
yes,
Walker Zimmerman, Miles Robinson, and Anthony Robinson.
Yes. If anything's going to change, it's going to be Richards for Zimmerman, but I find it unlikely. It's probably going to be
Zimmerman. Unlikely, too. I think it's more likely to be Zimmerman. And then I think the midfield three, I hope to God the midfield three is going to be MMA. Musa, McKennie, and Adams.
So are you asking what I hope or what I think?
I actually think, Greg, you would be absolutely nuts. Even I was listening to the Bobby Warshaw podcast, and Greg said to Bobby, the Costa Rica game was the most amount of miles covered from our team in 5 years. 5 years. A lot of that, I'm sure, was the three midfielders. Okay. So if you're talking about going for a draw or dominating that midfield from a physical perspective, it has to be MMA, in my opinion.
I want that. I just really think he's gonna come up with Tyler, Weston, and Acosta on the. I don't know why I'm.
So Acosta over Musa.
I think he's gonna do that.
That would be the day.
Would you put it past him? Would you put it past him?
No, I definitely would not put it past him. I would be very disappointed and surprised, but I wouldn't put it past him. Okay. And then up top, I'm thinking Aronson, Pepe, and Nipple Boy, Areola.
Yeah, probably. I think Pulisic will be off the bench, and same with Tim Weah, and Areola will start. I mean, Areola was he the only player that was going to start all 3 games last camp? Yeah, right? Only player, right?
He was the only guy. Oh, no, and Miles Robinson also.
And Miles Robinson,
Miles Robinson and Areola, the only 2 guys that started all 3 games. Areola did start that game. Mm-hmm. He was penciled in to start. He just got injured. So we'll see. We both have previews out. We don't have to discuss, too much about the game. But those are our lineups, guys. As usual, we'll be there. We'll do a pregame on TAC, live hangout with TAC, and then postgame with us. Okay? Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't get too discouraged over this result. It's not the end of the world. This is a very good Brazil team. We go again on Saturday, right? Saturday,
Colombia, yes.
Colombia game. So we have a Mexico on Friday. Saturday, we have Colombia. Sunday, we have a break, right?
Sunday, we have a break. And Tuesday, we have a break. And then Thursday.
No, Tuesday. Monday, we have a break. Sunday, Monday, we have a break. Tuesday, we play Jamaica and Mexico in both teams.
Yeah.
All right. Guys, thanks for coming to hang out. Have a great rest of your evening. We'll see you guys on Friday. Hopefully,
it was 4-0. Someone asked here. The score was 4-0, guys. 4-0.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, guys. See ya.